vine and the branches need to be in relationship with each other. Jesus invites us to be in relationship with Him by loving Him, God, others. You know, love is kind of a lot packed into one word in our culture, in our language. You ask 100 people what love means, and you'll probably get 50 or more answers. People say, I love my wife, and I love my cats, and I love my cheesecake, which I do, by the way. All three. I love to garden, or I love to watch old movies, or I love, well, fill in the blank. You all have the things that you would put into there. As I said, love is, in a sense, a very packed-in word. In 1981, John Denver, some of you know who that is, singer, he released a song which was called Perhaps Love. And here are the words. I really like these words. Perhaps love is like a resting place, a shelter from the storm. It exists to give you comfort. It is there to keep you warm. And in those times of trouble, when you are most alone, the memory of love will bring you home. And the second verse is, perhaps love is like a window, perhaps an open door. It invites you to come closer. It wants to show you more. And even if you lose yourself and don't know what to do, the memory of love will see you through. Oh, love to some is like a cloud, to some is strong as steel, for some a way of living, for some a way to feel. And some say love is holding on, and some say letting go, and some say love is everything, and some say they don't know. Perhaps love is like an ocean full of conflict, full of change, like a fire when it's cold outside or thunder when it rains. If I should live forever and all my dreams come true, my memories of love will be of you. Denver wrote this to his wife, Annie. Some of you remember Annie's song, which was his largest hit ever. He wrote it for her at the point that their relationship was ending, at least their marriage relationship. It's kind of sad when you kind of followed them over the years, but love has many dynamics to it, doesn't it? And as we kind of open this word today and we see love, we can't help but wonder, what is love? How often love can be misplaced or love can be misdirected. And sometimes people end up looking for love in all the wrong places. Yeah, that's right. Or in words from another cultural icon of yesterday, what's love got to do with it, you know? Yeah, I see Jane kind of picks up on that one. Well, according to Jesus, love has everything to do with it. Absolutely everything to do with it. The challenge that we face this morning is, what did Jesus mean by love each other as I have loved you? Maybe it's helpful for us to look at Jesus himself. What did he say prior to this or do prior to this, and what did he do after he said it in that context? As we pull this passage and we hold it up. Starting in John 3, we see that Jesus spoke to this man named Nicodemus. He was one of the great leaders of Israel. He was sat on the Sanhedrin, the highest court of the land, and he was an academic and learned and amazing, and yet he would come to Jesus under the cover of night because he was afraid that if his friends and people like him saw him, they would question his behavior. Jesus spoke with him, answered his question. Maybe this is the type of love that Jesus was talking about, this patience. Maybe love is patient. In the next chapter, Jesus reaches out to a Samaritan woman. We've spoken about her recently. Amazingly, as you can imagine, he's not supposed to have interaction with a Samaritan. The Samaritans and the Jews hated each other, and on top of that, she was a woman, and a Jewish man was not to be speaking with a woman. So perhaps love is this tolerance that in an intolerant world, Jesus reminds us that We need to be tolerant of people who are hated or different than us by our culture. Throughout John's Gospel, we read about the many healings that Jesus performed. There was a great deal of compassion that can be seen in the stories throughout Jesus' ministry. Compassion towards the weak or the outcast, those in need. Simply loving others. Perhaps it's about compassion. Moving forward in the story, Jesus said, "The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life." Unlike us, the disciples, they didn't quite know what Jesus was about to do. We have the luxury of looking back through the story and understanding a little bit more. Consider the vast amount of love that one would need to have in order to take their place and to die on their behalf. Perhaps sacrifice is the kind of love that Jesus spoke of. Finally, the night in which Jesus was betrayed, the disciples went to this place, this upper room, and before they sat down, Jesus took off his outer robe and he put a towel around his waist and he washed their feet. His love that night seemed to be a humble love of the servant. Once again, we're reminded that as we hear Jesus say these words, he spoke them then in that upper room. My command to you is that you love one another.